County in Western Kenya, one of the 4 protest-hit counties where the Electoral Commission postponed elections indefinitely following days of violence. Residents are, however, clear that they will continue to heed a call by opposition leader Raila Odinga to boycott the presidential election rerun. Kenya is now stuck in a dangerous limbo as President Uhuru Kenyatta took an unassailable lead in the disputed election. However, turnout appears to be headed for a record low of around 35%, tarnishing the credibility of an election that has deeply polarized the East Africa's economic powerhouse. At least 49 people have now died since the first election on August 8th in Kenya's worst crisis since the 2007 vote sparked politically driven ethnic violence that left 1,100 people dead. Meanwhile, Kisumu residents are counting their losses from the recent protests. Some are now visiting their loved ones who were caught up in the crossfire when opposition supporters took to the streets. Our East Africa correspondent Sarah Kimani spoke to Amnesty International about the situation in Kenya.
We've been able to go and visit some of the communities. We are here at the hospitals. We've seen the leadership. We don't have the whole picture, but the picture that is emerging is at least most of the people that we spoke to were people who didn't participate in the protests. The people were picked from their houses and beaten by the police, some of them in critical condition. We just got back from Manyata, where 37-year-old middle-aged man saw the police coming. He raised up his hand and saying, "Hey," and they shot one of his fingers, and they beat his hand with the back of the gun. So I think it's what we are seeing is really disproportionate use of force, and that needed not to happen. There were 7 police officers. He's just one person. If indeed he was involved in anything, they could have easily arrested him and taken him to court, but that didn't happen, and this pattern seems to be what he's obtained in most of the places to the people that we've spoken to. Of course, they are not everybody in Kisumu, neither are they everybody who's been affected. We've just had 2 days, so we're trying to do as many interviews as possible.
What is the death toll from the police brutality?
The ones that we are aware of as of now are 3. That is in Kisumu, but we are hearing other deaths in Migori and Bungoma. But we've not gone to Bungoma, we've not gone to Migori, so we cannot vouch for the authenticity of that.
Now, both the international community, the police, and President Kenyatta had all talked about police not to use excessive force. Have you seen?
No, it really is hard. I mean, they need not to be told. I mean, the law is very clear. The National Police Act 2011 is very clear. The Constitution is very clear. And just to add, I mean, for them to use lethal force, the standards are very, very clear. You need to disperse people first, tell them go away, shoot in the air, to use tear gas before you even use live bullet. If there are 7 police officers using a live bullet on a young man, I mean, I think that is disproportionate, and we're calling on the police to exercise maximum restraint when people are peacefully demonstrating. But in this case, they were not even in protest. They were picked from their houses. Ours is just to call on the police again to exercise maximum restraint, ensure people, if they are demonstrating or protesting and they are protesting peaceful, just follow the law. They don't need to do anything else. Their role actually is to facilitate protests, facilitate demonstration. The demonstrators, all they need to do is to notify the police, and therefore the police should just act within the law so that we don't lose any more lives.
A tale of courage and compassion a century ago was recounted in Durban today.